So the topic that we are trying to cover today is going to be cross-sell modeling. Can all of you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Cross-sell modeling and strategy for personal loan, personal loans. Okay. What is the domain here, or domain or industry, if you will?
Finance.
It is banking, and not just banking,
Yes, sir.
banking and
Finance.
financial services. Correct. Okay. And what kind of use case is this? Cross-selling, you know, yeah. So the use case, use case type is portfolio growth. Basically, there is a loan portfolio already, but the bank or the financial institution wants to grow the portfolio, right? So how do you want to, so the what I wanted to, what I want to cover with you guys is, it is important to understand the project from an overall perspective, okay, and not just project yourself as technical experts, because technical experts will have to rely on people who can give them the broader context. Now I want all of you, this is what I teach in my, in the batches that I take as well, that people who, if any of you are from my batch, you would have heard me say this. But what I try to emphasize on is that whenever you look at a data science problem or a machine learning problem, please look at it from a strategic perspective. What do I mean by this? I mean that there is a business problem somewhere, right? And that business problem has come over to you in that shape and form, that this is a business problem. Nobody knows the solution to this. Now, please, can you do something? Nobody came to you with a prescription of applying a certain kind of algorithm or applying a certain kind of analytical technique. There was absolutely no prescription. But it is expected from a good data scientist that the data scientist is going to be able to solve for the problem end to end by looking at the data, understanding the business problem, trying to see how the problem fits into the broader scheme of things, and then bring it all together in a comprehensive solution. Okay. Now if all of you are obviously going to uh, expect a long-term career in data science, I would encourage each one of you to develop this kind of skill set, because it's of course technical area is where you need to start with, but do not lose sight of the entire problem. So that's why I mentioned portfolio growth, and I will use the session today to talk about the following things, and then tomorrow we'll come back and solve it in Python. The Python code is an example of how you can do it. You're free to write your own codes as well. I will definitely, after the class is over today, I will give you the data set. I'll give you the code so that you, if you want, you can get started already. But then we'll have the session tomorrow as well. So what are we going to cover today? Any questions so far?
No question.
No.
Okay. All right. First thing that we will cover is understand banking. Banking business. How does it work? Okay. Then we'll talk about customer life cycle. Okay. Then we will understand the problem statement in the context of the business. Are all of you with me so far?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then finally, we will discuss a clear, um, approach for solving it. Okay. This is what we will cover today. Now, uh, this is what we will cover today. Number one, part A. Part B, let's move to the next page. What will happen after this session is over? Like what you're going to get out of this session? So the first thing is some understanding about the domain. Not fully, of course, it's not possible, but basic domain understanding. Okay. Then you will understand how machine learning models can be used to create strategies. So from ML models to strategies. Okay. Third is that you will get some good talking point for your interviews if you want to talk about this project. Now, when I conduct interviews for whenever we have roles, we currently are in such a bad pandemic situation. The company is going through a very, very tough time. Nobody is hiring as far as Amex is concerned, but then there are other companies that are hiring. When you guys think about positioning this project as as something that you've done and you want to showcase this, I would encourage all of you to please showcase this project in the context of the overall banking architecture. And this is what we'll cover here, okay, in the context of the overall business framework, right? Banking business framework. That I understand the banking business framework. I understand what cross-sell is all about and where this project can be seen as a part of the overall scheme. Do that. Then talk about how you went about solving this problem from a step-by-step perspective. And at the very end of it, at the very end of the discussion, mention the final algorithm that you've chosen, and then why you've chosen that. You will be able to give, you should be able to give reasons for your decision. And last but not the least, you have to explain about what you did in order to make sure that a layman, an absolute layman, can make use of your model without having to resort to automated deployment or any, I mean, without having a lot of technical knowledge also. A person who doesn't come from an ML background, how would you be able to sell your solution? So these are things that we will discuss, and I will make sure that by the end of the session tomorrow, you have all these points with you. Now, let me put this question back to you guys. Do you think this will fulfill your expectations, or is this something that you're not looking forward to, something entirely different that I'm not capturing?
Yeah, finally.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, this is what we are looking for.
Okay, all right. Because, you know, uh, in my experience, whenever, say, I actually have worked extensively in risk analytics, insurance, as well as marketing. uh, and then the issue that I always understood and faced is that my project champions do not come from statistics background. My project champions come from MBA background. Maybe they've done it from some B school, some really nice Ivy League B school, whatever it is. Like they haven't gone through the um, cycle of learning a programming language, or they haven't gone through the the phase of learning statistics, mathematics the way we did, right? So when I talk about say a linear regression model, when I say R square, you guys are going to understand. I'm going to understand what I'm talking about. You will definitely understand what I'm talking about. But then my marketing VP, who is my project champion, may or may not know what R square is all about. So it becomes a very difficult articulation, it becomes very difficult communication if you use such terms. So in order to make sure that the outcome of the model is easily understood, over the years I've been able to figure out some basic way in which you present the model so that people can understand what you're talking about. Okay. And trust me, by the end of the session you will see that it is quite easy, it's not that tough. Okay, so any questions up front that I should address before we begin? One question that I have is that is there a group, sorry, is there a link, a drive link that I can share the data and the file?
Yes, there is one.
There's one. Please share that with me in the chat window whenever you get some time. Any
Sure.
questions, guys, that we should discuss before we move to banking business? No questions? Okay. So, part one, banking business. So banking initially long ago started with the concept of just safekeeping money, and they would ideally charge a fee for keeping your money and your wealth safe, right? But over a period of time, banking has evolved into a much more um, intricate business. I think I have to put everybody on mute because I'm getting a lot of background. Abhishek, can you go on mute?
Yeah, it's just
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, if you have any questions, whatever it is, at whichever point of time, thank you, Sarah. Please don't hesitate to just unmute yourself and just ask me right away. All right. Okay. Now, banking has two parts, right? One is that in just in case of retail banking, let's just talk about retail because there are different kinds of banking, retail, investment, etc. Now, if we talk about retail, right? Now you've heard about savings accounts. All of you have savings account, and then there is something called current accounts, right? And these are different kinds of accounts that banks have. Then you can have multiple other accounts related to particular products. For example, somebody can have a savings account linked to a certain investment, like for example PPF. That can, you kind of put money in the savings account, but then you transfer it to your PPF account. That you can also do. But what we'll talk about today is how banks make money. Banks make money by fees that they charge for various services, right? One of the services is just to um, essentially give you, say, your debit card fees. Someone keeps a locker in a bank, right? There can be a locker fees. Um,
Transaction fees.
Sorry, what was that?
Transaction fees.
Transaction fee
Like
doesn't come.
transfer, like a transfer,
Uh,
money transfer.
Money transfer fees. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, money transfer fees.
Yearly maintenance charge.
Loan interest.
Yeah, loans will come later. Maintenance fee. Yeah. Then it comes, you know, by way of fines or penalties. One penalty that we all know is minimum balance penalty, right? Minimum balance that you need to keep. Then there are other payment as well. Other
Credit
kinds
card
of
payment.
credit card is a separate thing. We'll come to that later. So largely these are like banks' own fees, own fines, right? Now comes money through products, right? So various products. Now, how does a bank largely make money? Now, if you think about the fees that we just discussed so far, they're not going to give the bank a lot of income. The banks largely makes money through loans. Okay, this is the biggest earner for banks. Now, I want you guys to tell me what are the different categories of loans.
Home loans, personal loans,
Okay, let's make it.
educational loan,
Let's make it.
EMIs.
yeah, without collateral.
Yeah, let's make it a little bit more segmented. Let's call loans, divide loans into two groups: secured, unsecured. Okay. Now let's discuss. And why am I doing it this way? Let me share with you my experience in 2009 November. 2009 November, I was interviewing for October, end of October actually. I was interviewing for HSBC. It's going to be like 5 months into my role in Wipro. They're ready to look for a person who's just out of college, and I land up in Bangalore as my third round. I landed up in Bangalore for a face-to-face round of interview, and I was given a marker in a room, and I was asked to write on the blackboard, whiteboard. I'm sorry, that what are the profit drivers, what are the cost drivers for a credit card business. Now, I didn't know much about credit card business, but based on what I know, I was able to come up with profit drivers and cost drivers. Then I realized that the interviewer, later on when I thought about it, the interviewer is actually trying to test how much do I understand. I mean, I don't have to showcase myself as an expert, but do I or don't I have basic understanding of the domain that I want to build my career in? If I'm going for a banking role, then it is not unreasonable for them to expect that, okay, you're interested in this role because you like to, even you would want to be in banking. So how can you show that you have some basic understanding? And that is why we are discussing it this way. Okay, now let's come back to loans. So secured loans come with some sort of security, mortgage, some kind of security, right? So one example of secured loan, I already heard this from the group. The one is home loan.
Gold loan.
Absolutely wonderful. Gold loan. Any other kind of loan?
Vehicle loan.
So vehicle loan is not secured. Vehicle loan is secured or not secured? I'm not sure. Okay, let's call this vehicle loan. Yeah, a bank can take
Home
away your
loan,
car.
home loan.
Home loan I've written. Yeah. Let's put vehicle loan. Some other, couple of more. You can't think of it. How many of you have an LIC policy?
Loan against securities.
Loan against securities.
Mortgage loan falls in this.
In home loan, yeah. In India, we don't use the word mortgage loan. I mean, anything that we keep as security is called mortgage. I think I may have messed up the spelling of security. Um, there are loans that you can take against your investments. loan against investments. Something like a PPF. So if somebody has say 20 lakhs in PPF, the person can easily take a loan against that money. Not a problem at all. If you have an LIC policy worth 25 lakhs, you can easily take a loan of 3, 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs, and these are not an issue. They're all under secured loans. In unsecured loans, our favorite,
Personal loan.
personal loan. But is that our favorite?
No.
What is our favorite unsecured loan, guys? All of us take it.
Consumer loan.
One second.
Education loan.
Irrigation. Sorry, what was that?
Education loan.
Education loan is a favorite, but is that the most common? Think a little bit.
Consumer loan. EMI.
You're very close, but you're not coming up with
Credit card.
Okay.
Credit card.
Mm, bang on. Okay, Aishwarya has answered that, and some of the I think three, four of you have answered. Credit cards. So credit card, but all of you are right, by the way. Credit card loan. These are a credit card, and then what were the other examples? Education loan. Education loan actually normally, is unsecured. I mean, they don't take a security or anything against it, but they have a guarantor. Like if the bank can't recover from a certain individual, then they will go to the guarantor. Personal loan, also heard this from the group. What about the others? What else? More or less, right? These are more or less going to cover all unsecured loans. Okay, so can you see how our conversation is getting structured? We are talking about the revenue driver. We have picked up loans. We've discussed different kinds of loans here. Our project is related to personal loans. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay.
What is the difference between secured and unsecured loan?
Okay. Secured, some sort of security. So, yeah. So, hang on. Lending against
Pledge.
the value of an asset, actually. Say I have some gold with me. I give it to Muthoot Finance. Muthoot Finance is, I just went and I said, look, I'll lend you a loan of 15 lakhs and I keep my gold. So they will keep it, right? But they lend the money. If I give back the money, then I get back my gold. Okay. Now this is in case of unsecured lending against profile of customers. I mean, only profile of customers actually. Against only the profile of customers. You are just looking at the kind of customers and you're making a guess whether it's going to be a good customer. Am I going to get back my money, or am I going to get defaulted upon or something like that? So they will do some really good analysis, figuring out whether you're a good customer or not, and that's what this is all about. Unsecured loan is all about getting lent based on the profile. So your CIBIL score will determine the kind of credit card offers you can avail from the market. The kind of education institute that you're going into, your education loan will also depend. Personal loan is also purely on CIBIL scores and whether you have paid back earlier debt or not. Okay. Question? Did I answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. Cool.
What is PPF?
Public Provident Fund. Is that a new term for everybody?
No.
No.
Some of you
No.
know, some of you know it, some of you don't. Okay. All right. So in case of right, so what did we do here? Once again, right, understand the basic business. And this is how the loans, different kinds of loans operate, right? Now, in case of so we what do we know so far? That banks, um, banking business structure actually, you have on one hand deposits, and on the other hand you've got loans. Okay, deposit is what comes to the bank, loan is what goes out from the bank. Mostly the money you make is money is made mostly by fees charged to customers. Make sense, everyone? Deposit.
Yes.
Right? It can be any kind of deposits, guys. I can keep my valuables in a locker. That is a deposit. I can keep my money in a savings account. That is a deposit. Okay, so whatever. I'm putting stuff in the bank. Bank is charging me for that. That's one way to make money. The other way, in case of loans, our favorite is money is made by primarily by interest, also fees, and then mostly interest and fees, but some penalty charges if you don't pay back on time and stuff, right? So that's how the business is structured. So and then we haven't talked about the cost drivers. There are a lot of cost drivers in banking. Now cost drivers, let's talk about that. See, a bank has cost of I think acquiring a customer. Like you need to go and acquire a customer. So either the customer comes to the branch and opens it, or the customer goes to the website and opens up an account. There are many ways of acquiring a customer, but overall cost is called marketing cost. Okay. Then comes operations cost, paying salaries. Okay. Marketing costs will involve, let's give you examples. Marketing costs will involve advertising, okay, offers, maintaining, um,
Discounts.
those will be in offers. Advertising costs, all kinds of offers, discount offers, or any kind of particular offer. But
Salary streets employees.
that is under operations. I would have just come to that. No, no. What I'm just talking about. Yeah, maintaining. I would say just maintaining its marketing assets actually. Eventually, this comes into operations cost only, but we can call this marketing. Operations cost is salary, okay, rent for branch, right? Utilities, electricity bill, water bill, and whatnot. Okay, maintenance of ATMs and other stuff. So these are just, so during your interviews, if you are questioned on banking, even if you are able to come up with these points in an interview situation, that is enough for somebody who wants to show that, look, I have done a project in data science, of course, but I've understood what I'm doing. I understand which domain the project comes from, how that domain more or less at a high level, how that domain operates. So your argument for looking for a role or a job by showing this project is going to be that without being in banking, without being in an active data science role within banking, this is how much I've been able to understand about the domain. You can at least showcase that you're interested about the domain. So my argument when I moved into HSBC just 5 months was that I'm interested to work with more volume of data, which is not going to be as frequent in Wipro, because it's just getting set up, and I think I can utilize my time in a much better way. So I did a comparative analysis and I showed them that, look, if I spend a year in Wipro, maximum I can get couple of projects depending on the frequency of whatever projects they're getting sanctioned, right? They don't have their own data to work with. Vis-a-vis, if I spend a year in HSBC, I have if I get a business problem to work with, I can go ahead, extract the right kind of data, do the analysis and move on. So I will be able to generate a much better kind of learning experience and also deliver at the same time, of course. But that comparison really helped me put my case forward. Does that make sense to everyone? So you need to be able to do that, it's not just about working on a project, it's about building a long-term career. And it's good to show that you have some understanding, you are interested in that domain. All right, so are we good so far? All right.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's talk about customer lifecycle. Now, customer lifecycle is more or less same for all industries, but in the context of banking, we will talk about it. Right? So we have acquisition, or customers are getting acquired, right? Acquisition, largely. Then we have customer engagement, right? And then we have retention. It's the basic three parts to the life cycle. Now, what do we mean by acquisition? What kind of questions? So each of these parts, we try to answer some business questions. First question: which customers to acquire? Which are the channels to use? How do we basically how do we prioritize actually? Prioritize the approvals. These are some of the questions that you are going to ask yourself at the time of acquisitions. Which customers to acquire? The answer is given by those customers that are good or bad. Which customers are good versus which customers are bad. Which are the channels to use? So does it make sense to think that, okay, everybody can be acquired through the same channel? Of course not, right? Nobody likes to put all their eggs in one basket. So they would actually, banks would like to know which is a more digital savvy customer, and then send ads over the internet, maybe. Which customers are likely to have a more personal touch, like a very, very personal touch. Premium customers, they can send directly mail offers, not email, but mail them the offers in a hard copy and then send it over to their addresses. How do we prioritize approvals? Like, for example, a lot of people have shown interest, right? So which one should I spend? If I am a team leader and I have a team taking decisions on which people to approve which applications to just go into rejection, then what kind of segment should my team focus on first? So those are some of the questions, not exhaustive list of questions, but some questions connected to acquisitions. Now say you have acquired some customers, and now the bank has, say for example, come up with a certain offer on a personal loan that we will be waiving off some interest fee if you join within the next 30 days. Now according to that, some people applied and some people did not. I mean, that is a portfolio. Say the bank came up with a portfolio for a credit card on which is gives you points in Spencer's supermarket. So if people sign up for that card and they get approved, it will form a portfolio of customers or a group of customers. So let me write the word portfolio here. Portfolio means a group of customers related to a product. Make sense? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now acquisition is done, right? People have come on board. What is it that the bank should want to do next is that keep them engaged. If it is a credit card, they should try to see if people are using the card often or not, right? And if it is, say, some sort of you know some sort of product that they have, for example, if it's a savings bank account customer and they have no loan product, so they don't even have anything, easiest thing to do is to sell them a personal loan, or at least get them more engaged with the bank, so deepen the relationship, right? So over here you're going to ask yourself this question, which is a business question, is which product to offer. Okay, again, when you think of the product to offer, you should form the right audience, right? What is the right audience? Now this is a very important question. What's the right audience? Is it only that people, should I only look at people who are likely to respond to my offer and call them my right audience, or should I also keep in mind that the bank is looking to make money? It's not just about taking up a particular product, but also actually being profitable for the bank, right? So the way we answer this question really determines our engagement strategy or our cross-sell strategy. Okay, so I'm just going to put an asterisk here so that we can refer to this point a little bit later. There are two ways of doing this: purely technically, but you bring in some element of business. I would say, a little bit more business sense can actually make a good strategy out of this, not just technically. Now, what is the right out? The third question here is that, what kind of, even if you don't want to, sell a new product, what are the right actions to take? What positive or negative actions can be taken? How many of you can tell me what is a negative action based on, at this stage when you have your customers with you and you have them for, say, 8 to 9 months? We all know what positive action can be taken. An example of positive action could be that you sell a new product or sell a new, any new product to that group of customers. But can you give me an example of a negative action?
Fining them.
But what for?
Like a penalty. Like they haven't repaid in a certain amount of time. Mark them as a defaulter or something.
Yeah, so that is definitely an example of a negative action, but that is an example because if you haven't paid back, they're going to mark you as a defaulter. They'll fine you. In addition to getting fined, and I want to like give you this, you know, okay, let's just
Reduce the CIBIL score.
let me, yeah, all of that will automatically get impacted. So let me just give you an example here. May I know your name? Who mentioned getting fined?
Ranjini.
Hi, Ranjini. Thank you for suggesting that. Um, Fined. Okay. CIBIL reporting. The other thing they can do is reduce your credit limit. In extreme cases, so say I had a 1 lakh rupee credit limit and I have an unpaid balance of 25K. If I don't pay back, people will get crazy. They will say your total credit limit is 25K only. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes to the unpaid balance. They will reduce it to the unpaid balance. In addition to Ranjini's point and the other gentleman who mentioned CIBIL report, um, this can also be a negative action. That's a few examples. Okay, so all right, now let's move to retention. So we talked about acquisition, we talked about engagement. So in case of retention, what are some of the questions that we are asking ourselves? The one question that we are asking ourselves is that if a customer is retained, will we get back the money? Okay. In other words, right, you're asking yourself this question. So and say that the other question that you can ask is, which customers are going to be unprofitable if retained? So if some credit card customer says that I want to go away, and you see that, okay, in any case, this customer was not a profitable customer, and if you retain the customer, then most likely that they're going to be unprofitable, they will let you go. And but if you don't want to pay back the money, then the bank will sell your loan to some other third party. Suddenly you'll start getting calls from XYZ company that your loan is with us, you have to pay us this much money, not a certain bank. The first question is interesting. Which customers what we do is we create model called collectability model at that stage. Okay, so collectability models are built at this stage. You kind of try to figure out if customers are going to, what's the likelihood that they are going to be able to pay back the money. Okay, now let's talk about the asterisks that we did here, right, marked here. We will have to go for new pages. Are we good so far? Any doubts, questions, anyone?
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Okay. Now, just a second. So we are going to answer the question that what is the right set of customers to offer a personal loan to? Okay, that's the question that we're trying to answer. Again, my laptop is a bit slow today. Started working on it after a week. Okay, let's. What's the right audience, right? So our project, the context of our project is that there is a pilot. This is something, let's call this project context. Okay. Yeah. A pilot conducted earlier to sell personal loans.
This is the problem statement, right?
Yeah, the context of the problem. So I'm trying to make it like just like a real life. If I were to, I mean, this is how I would expect people to give me like projects. I mean, that's how it happens. That they will give you some context that a pilot was conducted in the past to sell personal loans. The offer was, one sec, what happened was, okay, let's look at the offer just a second. I think the offer, I have it written here. Yeah. So to waive off the, give it at a 12% interest rate and processing fee waive off if they respond within a month. That was the offer. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now the offer was waive off processing fee and charge 12% annual interest if response is made within 1 month. There was a pilot. What do we mean by the word pilot, guys? That bank has done some sort of an experiment like this. They have created this offer and they have decided to go after people without any guidance as to who is going to respond and who's not going to respond. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, what happened afterwards? This is, say, stage one. This is the story, stage one. In stage two, in the post pilot stage, data is collected on the customers both responders and non-responders. Now you are at stage 3. This is where you come in. Okay, your job is to enable the personal loan sales team with a prioritization, or we can say that enable the, one second. Yeah, you're enabling the personal loan sales team with the um, with basically a prioritization, what do you call it, a prioritization framework for the next round of targeting. So can you see what is happening here, guys? That normally we think our ML projects are going to be that of, there's a problem statement, there's a data, and then we'll build a model. We'll look into the confusion matrix, we'll look at the rock curve, and then we are done. Normally that is what we perceive as ML projects, correct?
Yes.
But can you see how we are approaching here? I'm giving you the story that in stage 1, this is what has happened. There was a pilot that was conducted. What happened in stage 2? In the post pilot stage, the bank started collecting data. Okay, this is what you, if you talk about it in this manner, then anybody interviewing you will understand that, yeah, you've really understood the whole story and the whole context behind the project. Is then comes the final execution. So I hope you guys are finding it okay so far. If you have any concerns, doubts, questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. All right, so it can be the statement can be made to sound very technical, that please predict which customers are likely to, or which customers are going to respond for a personal loan offer. But that doesn't mean anything to the business. I mean, what will the business do by knowing which will respond? Ultimately, the bank will use that information to tell the loans sales team that, look, these guys are likely to respond, so kind of go and target them, right? So that is what the bank is going to do. Okay, so that concludes the project statement. Questions, anyone? No? We are good so far?
Yes.
Okay. All right, now. Okay. So what happened in stage 1? In stage 1, of course, we know that pilot was conducted, right? Right. When you collected data in stage 2, you saw that 20,000 customers were offered, out of which 2512 responded. Now 2512 responded is nothing but a target equal to 1. That's marked as target equal to 1, and the rest is 0. Okay, cool. So in stage 3, if we want to try and predict which people are going to respond, and we do a very, very good job, we will come up with a list of 2,512 people who are likely to respond, right? That's the best that we can do.
Yes.
Now, the problem is that if I go with that kind of an approach, every time my sales team will only talk to 2,512 respond, prospects only. So, say the best ML model will also predict an ideal ML model, I would say, will also predict two five one two outcomes, but you know that your the your say the project champion, be it your VP, SVP, whoever it is, right? The project champion has given you this objective that please give the sales teams some sort of framework for the next round of targeting, right? So what you do is you build a awesome model, and the model is predicting everybody it has like 100% precision. Okay. um, okay, so far with me.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, can you tell me the problem that we will run into? So the sales team, they will get a list of 2512. Now, if you want to do this, right, create a using the ML model and predict exact 2512 outcomes, then the next thing what you will do is you will create a list, right, and then give it to the sales team, isn't it? So how many people will be there in your list?
512.
2512. Now, you go and put yourself in the project champion's shoes. Do that for 1 second. The project champion initially placed 20,000 bets. These are bets placed. These are bets won. Isn't it? 20,000 bets were placed. These many bets were won. Because of ML, and the model being like in the best possible model will only give me these many. So if I go ahead and I place only these many bets, um, I can obviously uh, get um, 100%. If the model is actually correct, then I might get 100% outcome. But do you think from a business perspective it makes sense to only go after such a less percent a small group of people, because it is almost like 2% people, um, sorry, 10% people, right? 10-12%. So only 10-12% will get targeted, right? So this is the issue with dot predict. So dot predict will narrow down target list to an unrealistic size. So that is why in this project I'll teach you how to use dot predict underscore prob A. You guys have used dot predict underscore prob A?
Yes.
Okay, can you please explain to the group how it works?
Basically, it gives the probability instead of the actual value.
Yeah. And how can that be used?
We've used it in ROC to find out the ROC curve. So
Okay. All right.
other than that, I have not used it.
Not used
Used
much.
for ROC curve.
Yeah, no problem at all. Perfectly okay. So the issue with dot predict again is that um, it has default of 50%. So it will any which way if the best possible model will only identify these many kind of customers, but you can't place your bets only on the exact number of predicted bets, because there's always an element of chance that you might lose out. So if you will win big and you will lose big also. Okay. So and then there are two kinds of errors that models make, type 1, type 2 errors, right? Type 1 would be that the model predicted that to be a responder, but it turned out to be a non-responder. That is a type 1 error, something that you can control. But a type 2 error is the model predicted that sorry, type 2 error basically will be that a customer is not a responder, um, but is taken to be a responder actually. So that is something you can't control. So you have to make sure that you minimize your type 1 error, but in order to do that you can't rely only on the predicted outcomes. So what we normally do in case of marketing analytics is that we use something called a Lorenz curve, and that brings me to the next part of our discussion, where I'll tell you the steps that I'll perform in this project, and we can list it down. But let's go back and see if we have covered everything that we wanted to cover. This part is covered, life cycle is covered, we've understood the problem. We'll discuss the approach now. So 1 2 3 is over, 1 is over, this is 2, this is over, this is 3, and now we'll come to 4. Okay. All right, so the steps involve basically ingesting data, building X and Y data frames. Once you do that, split X into numeric and character. Then comes data cleaning. We will do this in two parts, right? So first part is numeric one, and the second part is character. So in case of numeric, missing value imputation will be done using the mean, and this one will be done using the mode. Okay. Then comes outliers. In case of the numeric ones, I mean, there is no concept of outliers for characters. So in case of numeric ones, we will do a capping and flooring of outliers. So once this is done, I mean, data cleaning is going to more or less be done. We will move into our next step, that is feature selection and also call this feature discovery. Okay, now this is going to be done in many layers. First layer is going to be that of variance threshold. Have you guys used variance threshold class? K-bins discretizer. It has been a game changer in an I mean, K-bins discretizer, the concept is superb. It will give you a very visual sense of why a certain feature is good or a certain feature is bad. Very visual sense. So all your EDA needs, right, your visualizations of a certain variable with respect to its looking at a certain variable and trying to understand how it behaves with the dependent variable, that is very easily achieved using K-means discretizer. Although the process is manual, we will have to go through the pain. And in my experience, although we can automate a lot of things, the best outcomes are only possible when you take the time to go through them as an analyst. And it is not a good impression when one says in a project discussion or a presentation that I am not sure why I took this variable. The only reason I took it is because the algorithm suggested it. That is okay to say, but that may not give the best impression to anybody who's judging you. I have been on the receiving end of this. I can tell you from my experience, I used the word R square and I said, look, I use this model because the R square was 73%. But nobody liked it because they said that, your features don't even make any sense. We know from our business understanding that a certain feature must be included. So you should either have that feature or have a derivative or something derived from that particular feature, some form that at least bring in that concept. Because if we don't have it, we will not even look at what all R square, etc., what you're talking about. So it gets very tricky. So develop that habit and do this K-means discretizer. It will take some time, but it will be totally worth it. It will leave you with a huge sense of confidence. You can talk about it in your interviews. You can talk about it when you're real life project presentations also. And last but not the least, I will be using select K best. Okay, this I'll be doing for numeric and categorical, both kinds of features. So once we are through, the next step is to build statistical and ML models. Okay, I will tell you the difference between statistical and ML models, but over here we will apply LR. We will here apply decision tree, random forest, GBM. Okay, so 4 models will create 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll create all of these 4 models. Now comes evaluation. So of course we will be looking at the scores, the accuracy scores, precision, recall, etc., and the confusion metrics. Okay, and area under the curve. Next is we will something that I'm sure will be new for all of you. I will teach you how to build something called Lorenz curve or gains chart. That is where you will see that you don't have to always rely on the dot predict outcome, because dot predict outcome is only going to use a cutoff probability of 50%. Now, on an average in this particular pilot, the response rate is about 10 to 12%, 12% response rate, a little more than 12% response rate. Now, whether I mean, why should I set a threshold of 50% or more? Because if that is the case, I mean, I can just set a threshold of anybody higher than 12% is good enough for me for targeting from a business point of view. So that is why dot predict outcomes are not that helpful for creating strategies, but they're helpful to understand the overall ability of the algorithm in order to create groups of people who are likely to respond and like not likely to respond. So overall classification ability we'll try to find out. So this will tell me overall classification power that is possible. Next is Lorenz curve. This is what will help me decide which algo to choose. Not the, I mean, you can just by looking at the confusion metrics, but sometimes confusion metrics can be quite bad. But Lorenz curve will show you that the model that you have built is not that bad. It can be used, and there is a way in which you must read the output and work with your data in order to create a target list. So this is not a definitive test. It's a, I mean, it's a necessary condition, but not sufficient condition. So we'll learn about how to use Lorenz curve. It will help us decide which algorithm to use, and then finally we'll devise a strategy for stage 3. Stage 3 targeting. Okay, this is what we plan to do in our class tomorrow, which is going to be like, typically in project sessions we have one class on theory and domain discussions, and also walk through the data, the kind of data that you have, answer questions on the data if there's any questions out there. And then the next class I essentially perform the coding bit on Python. But before we move ahead, I have a request to make from all of you, is that last week my daughter turned 1 year, and my wife and I, we want to get her. So there's a process by which we kind of remove the hair on the baby right for the first time. So we are trying to get it done tomorrow, and I live in Gurgaon, and I spoke to a few places where we could go. I'm not getting any appointment other than the morning slot, and the earliest I can get is like 11. If I go there at 11, I might not be able to take the class at 12:30 tomorrow. Is it okay with all of you if we start the class from 3 to 5? I know that it will shoot by 1 hour. Between 4 to 5, it will be like 1 hour extra for all of you. But if all of you are okay to do that, otherwise we can try to do it between 2 to 4. What are your thoughts?
I think it works for me.
It's fine.
Me too.
Yeah, 3 to 5, it's fine.
Yeah, whatever. It be in 3 to 5 or 2 to 4. But I sincerely apologize. We have to get this done, because next week my regular batch will start again. We might not be able to find time. Okay, so I do promise to make it worth your while. And the biggest takeaway from this exercise is that of a templatized code. So the steps that you saw me discuss, right? They're all performed in Python in a very, very simplistic manner. You can take this project code, and you can just plug in with any kind of data, and you're sorted. You will be able to create, at least nobody can challenge your ability to create a model. At least that much will be taken care of. You don't even have to, even if you forget a lot of things in Python, you should be able to recall the basic steps that I will be teaching you in order to create a model on any kind of data. Okay. So I'm just writing it down here. The code can be used as a template for other projects. Okay. So any questions here so far? Anything that within the steps that you want to talk about? No? Okay.
We could like go through the cleaning part before the like splitting X and Y part, right?
No. Data cleaning will happen after we split. This is not the same as splitting training testing.
No,
This is
no.
just
First we split X and Y, and then later we do it train and test. But but like I've been doing like just before training and testing split, I've been splitting like X and Y, and cleaning anyway. We do cleaning on the X part only, not Y part. But yeah, I think it's fine. But
okay.
So you can clean the whole data set and then
There
we will build
are
the X and Y.
yeah. So guys, there is the beauty about working in Python is that there is no one way of doing things, right? There are many different ways of doing things. Why I have created this particular project template in this manner is because it's extremely intuitive, and it gives you, anybody who goes through these steps will actually be able to, like, you can so it becomes intuitive, and it becomes quite easy to talk about also. So X is where you will clean. Now you will have two kinds of features within X: numeric features and character features, isn't it?
yeah,
Right? Yeah. Now, within numeric features, you will have a certain way of dealing with the data cleaning, and character features also. You will have a different way of cleaning the data, right?
Yes.
Right. Once you do that, at this stage, I'm keeping them separate. I mean, of course, they are all linked to the overall X data, but taking the numeric features and cleaning them and cleaning categorical features separately. Now, similarly, I will approach feature selection separately. For numeric features, I will select them separately. I will look at the categorical features. I'll select them separately. Later on, I will be doing a concatenation to bring in the best features from both numeric, the world of numeric, and the world of categorical. So if you see the overall flow of the code, it becomes quite easy to remember, and it becomes quite easy to implement also in any kind of situation that you want to get into. So our um, just think about it, right? Whenever we used to give exams during schools or colleges, right, we used to refer to so many different books, this and that, reference books. But before the exam, we always wanted to go through our notes, didn't we? And that's it, right? You don't
Okay.
want to you don't have the time to sit through 110 pages worth of chapters, or like large different, huge books. Nobody had the time. You have some revision time of, you would try to squeeze your revision time within just a few hours worth of, because you had that notes. So this particular project code is in that format. It's very compact, and it is designed to give you absolute confidence that, okay, and I'm not suggesting that whatever you've learned so far you forget about it. You should keep that in mind. But if this is an additional thing that you're getting beyond the classes that you've attended, so there's no harm. It can be just another way of doing things in Python. Sorry, there was a question coming.
Yeah, so for categorical data, we are going to do encoding, right? Before building the models.
Yeah. But we will only do the encoding at the final stage, not the whole. We will not encode blindly. We will first choose the ones that we are interested in, then only we will encode.
Yeah, and one thing about that, the earlier question that I said, removing duplicates. Suppose we split it, the x and y before duplicates, and then do the cleaning later on. Then would not that create a problem if we remove duplicates from x, and then y would be, since if it would be different, then the number of rows would differ there.
Of course, it will be the case. Only, but it makes sense to do that step only when you are pulling the data. These data sets are cleaned, they're taken from Kaggle. They don't have any duplicates to begin with. But
Okay.
at the time of ingesting data, there is something called exploring data, ingesting, and you can say exploring. Here we should check. Ideally, you should check if you have any duplicates there or not. So
Okay, so basic cleaning, we could like do it before, and later on main stuff we could do.
yeah, for this project, we are not going to have any duplicates in the data anyway. See, that's the thing, right? About Kaggle projects, that these data sets are mostly, they don't have that kind of challenges related to real life data sets. So that is why sometimes people feel that, oh yeah, you've done some kind of project from Kaggle, so you haven't really gone through any kind of real life data challenges. But real life data challenges are not possible to have in a live coaching scenario, just in this particular format, because we don't have access to any database where we can pull it from, right? And most of the time I've seen that duplicates come because of incorrect joins that are applied during extraction. So if you're extracting data and you're doing instead of doing a left join, somebody did a full outer join, that person might end up creating duplicates in the data. But
Yeah.
one thing I would like to check is that, look, the model has to be at a certain level, right? What is the level of the data and the level at which you're creating a decision? So we are going to have the data at a customer level, and at every customer level, I need a decision made uh, by the model, right? So I must have some customer ID. I mean, I cannot have a row with a blank customer ID. That we will have to check. I mean, obviously, again, in this data set, I did not encounter any row with a blank customer ID, but I'm just trying to be cautious there, and I will have that step performed. But I don't think I have created steps to see if there are duplicate customer IDs. But come to think of it, if there are duplicate customer IDs, every row will have um, some outcome, right? Target. So say I have a customer ID 123 and the target is 1, right? The outcome is 1, meaning responded, and somewhere in the data 123 appears again. Then in that case, the outcome should also be 1. The outcome can't be 0.
Right.
That's there. So duplicates, just because you have duplicates in the data, this reminds me of a problem in credit card transactions. Okay, so sometimes many banks, especially banks like Amex, other banks also, they try to build models at a transaction level. For example, I have a credit limit of 1 lakh. It doesn't mean that I will always be able to spend up to that much. So if they will, at every transaction before approving a certain spend, the bank will try to see if that transaction is actually safe to be approved or not. Now I can be making 10 transactions a day, right? I'm just one customer. If I'm trying to do some Durga Puja shopping, being a Bengali, you can imagine what will happen. Um, I mean, it was so yeah. So just an example. So I say I did 10 transactions. So I will end up having 10 rows, 10 different transaction IDs. I mean 10 different rows. So if the data, but then my customer ID will be same. Say my customer ID is C123. So I will have 10 rows with C123, but different values of whatever, I've tried to purchase this and that, and whatever got approved, this and that, right? So you see what is happening. Now, if just because you have duplicates, your data may not be,
Yeah, but
may not be a
in that
problem.
case, the customer ID is the same, but the transaction time would be different if it's a transactional data. So ultimately, it's not a duplicate, right? So in that case, but in some case, there could be situations where in credit card transactional data, I'm pretty sure if the timing is exact same, amount is same, everything is amount could also be same. But if the timing is the deciding factor, if that is the same, then it might be duplicate, right?
Yeah. So it might be duplicate, but I'm just thinking, will it impact the creation? It may or it will not impact the yeah. It will impact some. Yeah, it will impact this one. This will get impacted. Logistic regression will get impacted. These guys will not get impacted.
Yes, yes.
ML models will not get impacted, but logistic regression will get impacted. Can anybody tell me the answer to the question why? Can I know your name, please? I'm sorry, you asked a very good question. What's your name?
Sort of.
Saurabh. So, Saurabh, question to you and to the group. Why am I saying that logistic regression is going to get impacted, but ML will not get impacted? The answer is, anybody wants to attend?
Direct relations.
No, but logistic regression, relationships are there in both. What do you mean by direct relations?
I'm just trying.
No, no worries, no worries. Don't worry. Here's the deal, right? The logistic regression is a statistical technique. Okay, there is a concept of sample size. There's a concept of regression coefficient. So every feature will have a certain coefficient, and in case of logistic regression, each of these coefficients will follow a chi-square distribution. Now, based on the chi-square distribution and the sample size, the final p-values will determine whether these particular features are significant or not, statistically significant or not. In case of ML, we throw those concepts out of the window and we don't really care. It depends whether the what kind of rules the model is coming up with. If I, as a customer, need to be above, say, a CIBIL score of X in order to get approved, no matter how many times my data appears in the data in the overall data set, the threshold of X will not change for me. All of you agree?
Yes.
But if, say, my name appears 10 times, I mean, not just my name, my entire data comes 10 times, my sample size increases. I only because of my data, the volume of the sample size increases by 10. So that creates an issue because I mean, it will the data it will ultimately create an issue in the standard error of the um,
Right.
regression coefficient, and that will have a bearing on whether I am statistically significant or not. So you see what I'm saying? A lot of customers, if they have duplicate data, logistic regression will take some hit. It will not be good for logistic regression. But yeah, for ML, that's not a problem. Did I answer your question, sir?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So we have some time. We've got about 20 minutes of time. Let me show you how the data will look like. Okay. Now, because I come from a very rigorous background where we used to go through, we used to spend like at least a couple of days going through the list of variables. This is an exercise that has stuck with me. Okay. I would look at the variable name, the description, and I would try to group them. That, okay, what are the kinds of, why have I done this? Because in many model presentation sessions, even before we could begin talking about it, we had a notorious SVP who would ask, what are the types of variables you had in the data? Now, initially, during my, the initial days in American Express, I would try to give them the exact variable names. That, okay, you know what, sir, I had this variable, that variable, this and that. Those are examples. But what are the kinds of variables you had in the data? I didn't have any question. So my manager suggested that from next project onwards, let's try to do this grouping, this clustering of variables, right? At least, you know, you have more control over the data that you're working with. So that is why I have this column created as at column C, so that we can summarize the information that we have, summarize the nature of variables that we have. That's why we have it. So customer ID, of course, is an ID variable. It's a plain and simple identifier, nothing more. Target, of course, is the target variable. Then we've got demographic kind of variables, engagement kind of variables, um, behavior score, marketing score, any kind of behavior score. Demographics are mostly related to age, gender, income. uh, your engagement is about with the bank, like, average monthly balance is a sign of engagement, whether it's low or high, whatever it is, right? um, then comes relationship, right? So as a customer, what is the kind of account that you have? What is the what's the account opening date, right? If you look at the account opening date, you can calculate customer. Now you can try to, hello, am I still audible?
Yes.
Okay. You could try to create a tenure variable, but you can just forget about it because it's already created here. Length of relationship in year, in months. Now this is a separate kind of, I mean, I can categorize this as a relationship variable, but I want to identify this variable as a tenure variable because tenure normally becomes a very important attribute. So the banks normally have strategies linked to, you know, low tenure, mid tenure, high tenure kind of customers. Okay, then comes all mostly engagement kind of variables that are there. Okay, number of credit transactions, how many times the money was put in the account, number of debit transactions, how many times money was withdrawn, total number of transactions, ATM withdrawals, internet withdrawals, mobile banking, whether you have a credit card or not. These are indicator variables. There are FLG variables for flag variables. So I have created them a category called indicators. Then again, you've got engagement attributes related to the amount. There are certain engagement attributes connected to the number of transactions. Then there are engagement attributes related to the volume. That, okay, how much is the money that has been withdrawn. Then comes a bunch of indicator variables denoted by FLG, and you've got a few fee variables. Now these are amount charged by the bank by way of ATM usage, minimum balance not maintained, inward check, outward check, so on. Right. So uh, right. So that's pretty much the landscape of the various features that you have in the data. I've created a separate pivot table here to kind of, group them a little bit more in case, I mean, not required. We can do a filtering of this one also. So I'll be sharing this one, this entire data dictionary with all of you. Also, I'll share the data. Let's have a look at the data, and I'll share the code as well, just so that you can see how it looks like. And in by tomorrow, we should have an if you have any questions connected to the code, you could do that. Straight away ask me the connect questions. But the idea is it will be a live learning session, so you will be running the code along with me. So please have it set up, have the data set ready in your local systems, copy paste the data however you want to do it, and set up your Jupyter so that you can run the steps along with me. And by the end of the session, you should get a feeling that, okay, at least once I have done it in a guided way, of course, but then I have done it at least once hands on, right? And you don't, even if you don't want to come back to this recording and spend another couple of long 2 hours just to look at how I did it, you may not need to revisit the video. You will already have practiced once, and you should be able to do it next time on your own. Does that make sense, guys? Do you find it helpful?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Right. So that's how I've been teaching in my batch here, because the idea is that okay, say I don't share the code. I perform the code tomorrow and explain to you different parts, this and that. You pay attention to it. 2 hours gone. You didn't do any practice. Then what will happen? You will again have to take out 12 hours, 2 hours from your schedule to look at the code. And when you start working on it, you will have questions. You will then refer to the video. Instead of that, let's do it together tomorrow, like we do it together. And whenever somebody gets stuck, just share me your screen right then, and we'll try to solve it for you right then. Okay, so you should not uh, get a feeling that it's just been a theoretical discussion. It will be a hands-on discussion, and that's the way we will learn together. But at the end of it, trust me, you will have confidence that you will be able to talk about this project for sure in your resume. Okay, so that's how the data looks like. It's not huge. It's got about 20,000 odds observations, 2512. So near about 12.5% is the event rate. Why have I chosen this data set? Because I can, at least in a live classroom setting, I can run this with relatively less transaction, the time of computation. So people's time can be respected. So, all right, let me also show you the, unless you have any questions, anybody has any questions right now?
So
No.
in a project, in a live project, what is the usual volume of data that we deal with?
It depends on what is available. So this project was a very nice banking project, very well contextualized. So this came with 20,000. We could have had 40,000, 1 lakh also. Like there's a data set on credit risk which comes with 4 lakh observations. That also happened. But yeah, if you do a grid search on that, then in a live project, it will be, everybody will have to wait till the grid search runs. So yeah, it can cause issues. So there is no one answer. Okay, while this opens up, okay, right. No more questions so far? All right. So I've come to the last topic of our discussion today, which is ML2 strategy. Copy, paste, created space. Awesome. Let's go. Okay. Now, these are I need to choose a better color because this red is just too stark. Okay. What do I have? I have cust ID and I have predict underscore prob outcome. So I have probability that target equal to 0, and the next column is probability that target equal to 1. This is what I have from my dot predict underscore prob A. Isn't it?
Yes.
Think about it like a data frame. So say I have 100 customers. This is an example, guys. Okay, 100 customers. And I have all these, whatever target equal to 1. In this data frame, I also have actual targets. So if my actual target is 1, 0, dot, 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 1, I have these actual targets and I have some probability values. So what I do is I create basically 10 groups of customers based on predicted probability of target equal to 1. These groups are called deciles, meaning each group contains 10% customers. Did not make sense? Yes or no? Did it make sense? Did it not make sense?
Yeah, right.
Everybody, it made sense? Let me take an example from your school days. You had 100, say there's a class of 100 students. Everybody got their marks in some subject like mathematics, for example. Okay. Now I want Saurabh, who's the class monitor, to create a group of 10, 10, 10, 10 students each, so that the first group is composed of the highest, people who have got the highest marks in maths. Second group will have the second highest. Third group will have the third highest, and so on. Okay. So the top 10 scorers in mathematics will be in group 1. The next 10 will be in group 2, and so on. Okay. So top 10% predicted probability in decile 1, and so on. Okay. Everybody okay so far? Okay. Now imagine that imagine that there's a new there's somebody, some sort of supervisor or some teacher who comes along and says, well, this grouping has happened based on the last exam, but let me predict what will happen in the next exam, the upcoming exam. So say, based on your prelims outcome, I have asked Saurabh to do this, but the boards are coming, right? So then this the maths teacher comes and says, based on my prediction system, which is my model, I am predicting that these group of people are going to be in the top 10, and then the next group is going to be in top 10, next 10, and then so on, and so on, the next 10 and next 10 and so on. Okay, based on the prediction that in the boards, this is what is going to happen. Everybody following the story so far? It's very, very important. Please pay attention. Everybody following the story so far?
Yes.
Now pay attention. If the maths teacher does a good job of prediction, the first three groups, the top 10% predicted group, next 10% predicted, and then the next 10% predicted, top three groups should have the highest math scorers in the board exam. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Just think. Take your time. Think about it. Saurav has selected 10 people and he's saying that, sir, this is based on the prelims outcome. This is my 10 students. Awesome. Math teacher says, based on my prediction system, these people are going to be in the top 10. Now, if their math teacher is right, when the boards come, the Saurabh is keeping a close eye on the outcomes. Saurabh is not satisfied. He's like, okay, wait, I'm going to check. So when the board's results come, Saurabh actually checks how many people out of that predicted top 10 group have actually performed, right? So the reality has to match the prediction, correct?
Yes.
To some extent. It will not exactly match, because if that exactly matches, then the math teacher becomes like God. But there's no one above God. I mean, he's like supreme, right? So you cannot become God, but you can be good at prediction. Now, if he's good, then majority of your top scorers will be in what we call as group 1, group 2, group 3. Majority of your top scorers will be in group 3, and majority of the poor scorers are going to be in bottom 7 group. Think about it. That is how a machine learning model enables strategy building, and that's what we will do. We've got just about 5 minutes, so we'll create deciles 1 to 10 based on prediction. This is like the maths teacher predicting. Okay, and we will try to see, based on the targets equal to 1. Let's just imagine that your boards, before the boards, these deciles were created, and just for 1 minute, imagine that after the boards, the actual data has come, and so you're like, this was the scenario. So you will see how many of these guys are performing well, and then we will determine a cutoff that we will say up to which decile, not not exactly this. 1 minute. Yeah, we can take a decision which algorithm captures the most responders by group 3. That is something we can understand. And then the third is the compare average predicted prob and average actual prob. Okay. So, so after the boards are done, Saurabh is collecting data. He's found out that in top 10, average predicted probability of, of success was say X%, but in reality it is not X%, it is X1%, and X and X1 are pretty close. Over here, you would say that, okay, between top 3, group 1 to 3, and up to and the bottom 7, there's a lot of difference. So if the maths teacher has predicted well, then his prediction will create a lot of discrimination between the top 3 group and the bottom 7 group. Top 3 versus bottom 7 discrimination. Okay. All right. So finally, example of a strategy. What you do is you have your deciles here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, dot up to 10. You can decide, like, okay, you decide that, okay, I want to go after these guys. Okay, top 3, and these are my bottom 7. So I don't want to. Now at this stage, don't decide. I mean, you can just categorize them as top 3, bottom 7, and then we decide a value parameter. That what is a valuable parameter for a bank? A valuable customer can be a customer who has a high average balance, right? So we can take, say, average balance. There also create 1, 2, 3, dot up to 10. So there I can create groups like, okay, this is a high average balance group, this is a medium, and something like a low. Okay, a strategy will be that high balance, medium balance, and low balance. This is based on the balance group, and this is based on the predicted probability, top 3, bottom 7. So you can create a cross tabulation and see how many customers are getting captured. Okay, how many customers are getting captured, and how much, what is the likelihood of people, what's the likelihood of success, the predicted probability of success, or the actual probability of success. You can calculate average of target feature. Average of target feature is nothing but actual probability. So you can calculate the average probability here. And then based on these probabilities, you can prioritize. You can say that, look, people who are in top 3 and high value, go after them first. Within top 3, medium value second. Within, within bottom 7, high value third. You can create a prioritization accordingly. This will enable your concept of prioritization. And that should be the end of our project, where our ultimate, all the mathematics and statistics and ML that we did came down to just this cross tabulation. That's pretty much it. Everybody can understand the language of a cross tabulation even though the person doesn't understand the language of precision, recall, F1 score, etc. Your project champion should be able to understand cross tabulation for sure. That is a given. All right. So did you guys like my approach?
Yes.
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 Okay, so and we're just on time. I didn't want to take any more of your time than a stipulated time. So, okay. So, and please, I think Saurabh has already shared with me the link on the chat window. I'll just go there and upload the stuff. Okay. Should I'll create a folder here.
Yes, that would be better.
I create a folder. I can't create a folder. Can't create a folder.
Yeah, we don't have access to that.
Can I upload anything here or no? Let's
I
see.
don't think we have.
No, I can't. I don't have access to it. So what do I do? Okay, here's what I can do.
Next, Krishna.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll give you access to something that I completed. Okay, so I think you can use this code. 1 minute. Yeah, just use this code and yeah. Anyway, I will try to give you the link if I think I can share. Yeah, so I'll give you the link. Can you pick it up from here? Can you guys please check and tell me if you can access it from here? It is just a question of downloading the stuff. That's it. But today's notes are not there. I will have to save and upload the notes. Shubham says yes. Shubham says yes. What about the others? Can you please use the microphone to tell me? If you don't mind.
Yes, it works, Ritra.
It works? Okay. Please download it right away. Download the data, download everything. Let me also say, give you the notes. Perfect. So if I upload my stuff here, should I be able to? All of you are downloading it?
Yes.
Please download it. And okay, while the downloading is progressing and everything, any thoughts on today's discussion? Anything that did not make total sense? Anything that you wanted to cover, especially? So if we cover the project in this format, I'm very curious to know whether this will meet your expectations. So is this something that is you're kind of looking forward to, or is yeah, if you can just if I can know that today, that can really help me. Maybe you don't have an answer right now. That's okay. You can think about it. Let me know tomorrow. See, I've uploaded the notes also for the project. Should be okay. Thanks, Kokan. Shubhangi has just shared the entire folder. All right, so we can conclude the class today. Has everybody? I just want to know everybody has been able to download before we close today. Can I get a confirmation, guys?
Yes.
Yes,
Please,
we can.
please download. Please download. Please download. Okay. All right, and all right, I'm available on WhatsApp on this number. Please save this. Even if after your classes are over, any doubts, questions, discussions, I'm open to. Call me. No problem. There's no correct time or bad time to call. Uh, if I'm not free, if I'm not able to pick, then I'll call you back. Does that work?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for spending time on the weekend today. Have a great rest of the day, and thank you once again for understanding my situation. So we are then meeting at 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay. I
Yeah,
hope,
sure.
hopefully, my my daughter would be okay by that time, and she should be asleep. Otherwise, there can be a lot of drama and screaming because she's gonna get her head tortured for the first time. All the best and best wishes to her. Thank you so much. Her name is Arohi. But her nickname is Brishti. Brishti is a Bengali word for rain. That's because of the 6th of March 2020, there was a lot of thunderstorms, rain, etc. happening in Gurgaon at just the time when she was born. And that happens to be one of my favorite weather patterns as well. So I have named her Brishti as a nickname. Yeah. Sorry. I must have interrupted somebody. Somebody had a question. What was that?
No, I was just looking for your number. I think I
Oh,
missed it.
okay. No problem. Here's me sharing it again. There you go. Did you find it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, guys. All right, then. See you tomorrow. Till then, please explore the code, go through the notes again. And I think in this format of our discussion, I'm positive you don't have to come back to watching the video all over again and spend 2 hours of your time. I have designed the code in that way only. You will see how it works. But having a live hands-on session tomorrow should be good for everyone. All right, then. On that note, bye for now. See you tomorrow.